Great. So this is all about mentoring and mentorship. And I'm not someone who lectures a lot because I don't think it's the best way to teach. So, and certainly not the best way to teach, not the best way to teach about mentorship. So I have some slides to share. So I'll kind of do a little mini lecture, and then in between a couple of sections, you're going to do some group work. So I will be using the breakout function of Zoom. And as students, you're pretty familiar with that this fall because if you've been online. Are you all students?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, great. And are you all undergrads or some grad students?
I think I'm the only grad student, or I'm the grad intern, so I think they're all
okay. Okay, great. Okay, so I might ask you for a few more things in just a minute, but let's get started. So this is the agenda for today. You'll see that there are 2 breakout sections, and we'll work in groups of 2 and 3. And in between, I'm going to talk about helpful hints and what mentorship means and contextualizing it with the VIP program. And then we're going to do some scenario-based work for our final breakout group. And with the breakout groups, I am going to use a Google Doc slide deck so that you can write what you've been talking about in your groups, and we can have something that you can share out with the full group later on in the session. Okay, so we will take the full hour. So let's just start by if each of you could tell me who you are and what you're working on in VIP, because I'm sort of, VIP is a little bit new to me. I have a lot of experience with K-12 STEM and Katie and Darren, but the VIP program isn't very old. So I kind of thought if I could hear what you're doing, I could recontextualize the mentorship in the context of what you might be doing with VIP, either currently or in the future. So could we start with Danielle? Could you tell me what you're doing? And I'm actually just going to go down the participant list.
Yeah, hi, I'm Danelle. I'm the graduate intern with Viterbi undergraduate programs and Women in Engineering. So for the VIP program, for the most part, I am running part of the program with Maya Fernandez, who's my supervisor. So not so much like in the field, but more of the coordinating and hosting workshops.
Great. Hi, Danelle. Nice to meet you. Okay, how about Ashley?
I've mostly just been working in the classroom, so I just go into the classroom, well, the virtual classroom, and just help the teacher facilitate the chat and and do breakout rooms and stuff like that.
Okay, so what grade are you working with, Ashley?
I think that they're all like 4th or 5th graders.
Okay. At what school are you working? I know you're virtual now, but what school is it?
I'm working with multiple schools. I'm kind of forgetting their names right now, but I work with multiple schools.
Maybe Danelle knows, or somebody, or Sarah knows. Are they all Los Angeles schools, ladies, or no?
Yeah,
I think they all are.
Okay.
And I'll just briefly mention as well that a lot of our volunteers have been paired with programs. So the programs work with either a variety of schools or a variety of teachers.
Okay.
So they're really stepping into a lot of classrooms and working with a lot of teachers, and we're really grateful for that.
Okay. So Ashley, which program are you connected to?
I am in mission science.
Okay, I know that program. I actually know all the programs better than I know VIP. So that's good. I just wanted to get some context for that. How about Emily? What are you, undergrad, grad, and actually, Ashley, what's your major?
I'm an astronautical engineering major.
And Danelle, what's your major?
I'm studying post-secondary administration and student affairs.
Oh, you're PASA.
I'm a PASA student.
Yeah, I actually have a joint courtesy appointment in the School of Education. So I know that program really well. Great, I'm glad to hear that. Okay, terrific. Yay PASA rather. Okay, Emily, tell me about what you're doing with VIP, what your major is, and things like that.
Hello, I'm Emily. I'm undergraduate studying chemical engineering.
Okay.
Right now, I'm working in mission science as well. And I'm looking forward to having the opportunity to do some one-on-one tutoring with students in math and science for K through 12.
Okay, perfect. Good to have you with us. Great. let's see who's next. Kevin, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Kevin. Hi. I'm an undergrad studying biomedical engineering, and I'm working with LAUSD right now, and I'm just helping create the curriculum for on a week-by-week basis, since a lot of things had to be changed because of quarantine and doing things online. So I help out with that.
So all grades, multiple schools, or what, Kevin?
I work with 3rd through 5th graders, but I haven't actually dealt with any particular like schools or anything like that. I haven't dealt with students in person.
Mm-hmm.
I've mainly been helping out with like administration within VIP to figure out.
Okay, great. Glad you're with us, Kevin. Okay, next, Pooja.
Hi, so I'm Pooja. I'm a freshman undergrad studying electrical engineering, and I'm volunteering with the BOTS program. So we're working with 3rd through 5th grade teachers on implementing like CS curriculums.
And so are you on Zoom with the teachers, or how are you doing the implementation? I'm curious how BOTS has done with virtual.
Yeah, so our monthly like workshops are via Zoom. And then like the teachers try and like move those lessons that we provide into like their like day-to-day classrooms.
Cool. It's exciting. I'm glad to hear that. Great. I remember when BOTS was just being conceived, so to speak, in terms of the way it was going to work. So I'm glad to know that it's still running. Great. How about Yvonne?
I'm also an undergrad freshman. I'm studying mechanical engineering, and I'm volunteering in the Mission Science K-12 Center with the one-on-one tutors.
Great. So the 2 freshmen, were you at Garrett Reisman's All Academy lecture last night?
I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, so I teach Freshman Academy, 2 sections. So my students were there too. It was great, wasn't it? I couldn't get enough of it. He was fabulous. But it was the videos were great too, weren't they?
Yeah, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Did I miss anybody on this list? I don't think so. So Sarah, are you a student, by the way, or no?
I used to be.
Okay.
I used to be a USC student, but now I am just filling the role of assistant director at the K-12 STEM Center.
Great. And so what was your major when you were a USC student?
I'm actually a social work master's,
cool.
Yeah, and master's of public administration across
Great.
campus.
That's wonderful. That's terrific. Okay. So what we're going to do next is we're going to do some mentorship definitions. We're going to share using the chat feature. We're going to, call out some words that describe mentorship and things like that. And then we're going to do some articulation of what mentorship is as a group. And then we'll do a breakout section in which I have you address some key questions related to mentorship. Then we're going to come back together and to work on some helpful hints and contextualizing it within the realms of the different VIP related programs. Then we're going to work on some scenarios in dyads and then just go into next steps. So that's the agenda for the afternoon. So let's go to the next slide. And then I'd like us as a group to define mentorship for us. And so I'm going to unshare my screen for a minute because we're going to write a collaborative definition and you're going to shout out some ideas and I'm going to type it into the slide deck and then we're going to see it together. And I won't type the full thing, but I'm going to formulate a little bit of a definition. So that said, if you can sort of think of key terms that relate to mentorship and put them, either say them out loud or you can put them into the slide deck. Did someone new join us? Yes? No?
No, I think she just turned on her camera.
Oh, wait a minute.
Camera working.
Yay, I know that. I couldn't get anything work 5 minutes ago, so sorry. Okay, so how would you define mentorship? You can either tell me or you can put it in the chat feature, your choice. Either shout it out or type it. And again, there's no one right or wrong answer, okay? In your words, what is mentorship? Anybody?
I would say maybe acting as an advisor or somebody who can help provide advice and guidance for another person.
Mm-hmm. Right? What else?
I would also say that a mentor is kind of like a sounding board, like someone that you like bounce ideas off of, kind of like it's like an active listener.
Great. Great. I'm typing these and you're going to see them in a minute. Okay. Great. What else? Anything else? Any other ideas? One or two? So far, I have a mentor is acting as an advisor, provides advice and guidance, and a mentor is a sounding board and an active listener. Does that get it in a nutshell for you? Oh, a relationship where people get to share experiences and advice. That's very good, Yvonne. Thank you for adding to that. Okay.
Also kind of like a gateway. I don't know if that makes sense, but it kind of introduces you to like new ideas, new people.
Mm-hmm. Great, good idea. So mentorship is a relationship where people get to share their advice. That's good. And then a gateway, I get what you're talking about. That makes a lot of sense to me as well, because let me just put this in here really quick. So mentorship provides a gateway, right? For new opportunities maybe, and guidance. Okay, great. Anything else anybody wants to add before I share my multidimensional definition that you all came up with?
A mentor might also be able to serve as a role model.
Yes, that's good. Great. Great. Okay, so let me now reshare my screen now that I've got something else on here. Hold on. So you can see what we've written, because we're going to go back to this a little bit later on. So I'll share my screen again. Good. Okay. So a mentor is acting as an advisor. Sorry for the typo. I'll fix that offline. And then provides advice and guidance. A mentor is a sounding board, an active listener. Mentorship is a relationship where people get to share experiences and advice. And mentorship provides a gateway for new opportunities and guidance. And mentors serve as role models. Very good. That's excellent. And I'll fix the typo that I made, not you. Okay. So let me go to the next slide. All right. So here, from the research on mentorship, what came up, and you'll see that there's a lot of connections to what you said as well. And it's kind of important because, just so you know, Darren and Katie may not have told you, but I actually study mentorship. It's one of my research arms. And I study it between children, teachers, children and university students, undergraduate university students and grad students, and then faculty and students. And not only do I study it, but what Sarah didn't mention, and I don't like to brag about this, but it is kind of an important award. I received a presidential award from the US president in fall of 2019, a national medal award for, it was a presidential award for mentorship in STEM. That's what it was about. So not only do I study it, I actually got an award about it. So I kind of know it a little bit, and that's probably why Darren asked me to present to you today, and Sarah. So let me talk a little bit about what the research that I've done and others have around mentorship. And it really focuses on a developmental relationship. And remember, someone talked about relationship in our definition, in which a more experienced or more knowledgeable person helps to guide a less experienced or less knowledgeable person. So that speaks to the different kind of mentorship relationships, from students to K-12 students to university students. And actually, I've had grad students provide mentorship to teachers, because teachers are pedagogical experts, but they often don't know the most current content in engineering and computer science, and they can get that from undergraduate and grad students. So there can be some cross-group mentorship as well. Here's something that's really critical to mentorship, and that is, it's not a supervisory role. It's more about a power-free relationship among those with mixed expertise. And what that means is, you're not evaluating someone when you're their mentor. You're providing advice, guidance, and assistance. but you're not evaluating whether they're doing well and things like that. So it's power free. In other words, it's not high stakes. It's something that you remove the power relationship so you can really have a relationship with the person to help guide them. And the mentor may be chronologically older or younger than the mentee, but should have a certain area of expertise that the mentee doesn't yet have. So that's really, really critical. By the way, during the time that I'm talking, I can see the chat feature, but if you have a question, you can either type it in the chat or shout it out. Since we're a small group, feel free to just interrupt me. I'm fine with that. And if I'm going to answer your question in the next slide, I might say, hold off on that question. I'll answer it. It's difficult for me, although I can see the raise hand feature. I prefer you just type it in the chat or shout out the question for this, okay? So, a relationship of continual guidance and role modeling that transcends instruction or single issue advising and guidance. This one bullet gets at almost everything we talked about in our collaborative definition. So when I think about that, just thinking aloud, in other words, please talk to me about it. How do you think this relates to what you're doing for the Viterbi Impact programs? Where does that crossover take place? Anybody at all? And one of the reasons I asked you what you were doing is I want to get the feel for where you are in the program. So anybody at all, what comes to mind, including Sarah, by the way, because you are mentoring the students in the VIP program in some ways. What comes to mind in the context of the VIP program for you in terms of mentorship? Anything at all? Don't be shy.
I think in terms of some of the K through 12 one-on-one tutoring, there's mentorship there in the sense that you can help provide academic knowledge to students, but also maybe provide them with an understanding of what you do or what you got interested in and help answer questions for them along the same lines.
That's fabulous. And let me build on that just a little bit. It's absolutely true. When you are tutoring them, you're not giving them grades, right? So you have a power-free relationship there, right? That's critical. Moreover, especially when it comes to K-12 students and university students and that kind of mentor-mentee relationship, yes, your primary expertise is that which you're tutoring them on, right? But it's way beyond this, and I always tell this. I run several programs in K-12, and one of them is called Robotics and Coding Academy, for example. I also have three NSF-funded research project with students and K-12 learners and teachers. But I always tell the students, the USC students, that what you're giving to the K-12 students and their teachers extends beyond what you know, for example, about coding in the case of the Robotics and Coding Academy, just using that as an example. Yes, they'll get that from you, but they get so much more, especially the children, because you are providing a real life relationship model in which you are providing them anticipatory guidance about what can they do in the future because of your modeling. And you can even talk to them about what it was like for you in K-12 and what you did before you went to college. You might even talk to them about, you know, making sure you take algebra in 8th grade or your freshman year so that you can get into the harder math classes and science classes so you can get into a university. And you're kind of like what we would call a near peer mentor. You're not a peer. In other words, mentorship and friendship are not synonymous. And it's interesting. This is the first time I've done a talk anything like this when no one mentioned the word friendship in our collaborative definition. And you can't believe how thrilled I am about that, because mentorship is not friendship, okay? It's very different. Friendship is important, and so is mentorship, but they're not synonymous. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. But this whole notion of guidance, in other words, you can, by example, show them what it's like to be a university undergraduate or graduate student in the classroom. You can also provide anticipatory guidance on science content or coding content, etc., or math content for their teacher. Because if they're an elementary school teacher, for example, it's not that they don't know their content for K-12, but they didn't major in computer science usually, or biology or something like that. So they're kind of generalists when it comes to content, and our own students are experts compared to them with content, especially if you're upper division or even as a beginning undergrad, because you're learning about engineering even your first semester in college. They don't have that background because you can't make, there's no such thing as an engineering teaching credential. So that's not where they would be. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's go on to that and talk a little bit more about the key components and roles of a mentor. And this is really critical. By the way, I am going to give this slide deck as a PDF. I'll load it into the chat feature at the end of my session today, or send it on to Sarah so she can give it to you for later so you can have this stuff handy, okay? A mentor empowers youth or individuals to make positive choices. And that gets back to the kinds of choices you can guide students into so they have the same opportunities or similar opportunities to you to get into a Research One university. A mentor encourages youth or individuals to take ownership of their learning, and that is a huge deal. They need to know that they're in charge of whether or not they learn. Yes, the teachers can teach them. You can teach them too, but if they're not ready to take that information in and apply it, they won't own their learning, and they won't be able to transfer what you're teaching them today into something important tomorrow. So that's really critical. A mentor helps young people and adults develop life skills. And when I say life skills in the context of VIP, yes, you're tutoring them, or you're working in the MESA program and working on things, or the BOTS program, and you're working with the teachers who then work with the children. But those skills are transferable. They get good at engineering, they can work on design later on in life, and they might major in engineering. They're better at math because you're tutoring them. Those math skills can extend into high school and college and things like that. But you're also teaching them about self-discipline, ownership of their learning, applying skills into diverse settings, and those are important life skills that they need. They can be setting goals, and that could be a part of mentorship where you help them set future goals. Like you talk to them about what do you want to be when you grow up, and they start setting some formative goals along the way. You can talk to them about overcoming challenges, because especially in Los Angeles where you're working with the children, a lot of them encounter poverty, and therefore they have they're under-resourced in their homes. So you can help them to overcome those challenges. And for those of you that have been working in the schools with the teachers in virtual environments, you probably already know how challenging it is for some students to get access to technology and have good network connections and internet connections at home. You can talk about learning techniques to manage their thoughts and emotions. And these are skills youth need to learn and apply in all aspects of their life. The other part of mentorship that a lot of people don't mention is the importance of caring. And that is, students know that you care about them if you sit in small groups and one-on-one with them and you offer that care by providing the guidance. You're not a formally trained counselor, but a mentor is like a near peer to them, and it's really important for them. You can encourage them and practice and encourage kinds of things with them. The other part of mentorship, which I think is really important, and I train my students in my lab for, is helping young people to develop core values. And what I mean by that, things like honesty, integrity, sportsmanship, respect, responsibility, perseverance in the face of adversity, courtesy, and things like that are really, really important. You teach them that both by dialoguing about it, but also by example. So you're respectful of their needs and challenges, you're respectful of the teacher's needs, and you model that for them as someone that's closer to their age than maybe their teacher is, so you're more closer to them as a near peer. Another piece is a mentor strengthens interpersonal skills and peer relationships. So you model and encourage youth to appreciate diversity, and this is really important in our sociopolitical context right now, and to show respect for themselves, their friends, and people around them. So playing in sports or whatever kind of competition, if they're in robotics competition or something like that. There are basically three main roles that mentors play. One is a consultant, like a more expert peer kind of thing. The other one is a listener or a counselor. And I don't mean a formal counselor like a psychologist, but one that can kind of guide them and help them. And the third role you play as a mentor, so the expertise comes from the consultant, the guidance and advice comes from the counselor, and the third one is the cheerleader. And you're not literally a cheerleader, but you cheer them on and you encourage them to do better in life. So those are important roles that mentors play. Questions so far? Any questions at all? Okay, So Sarah, you have a choice of making me the host and I'll make you co-host, or you can divide the groups up, okay? What would you prefer? Because we're going to do our first breakout group. Okay. All right. So let's see. Yikes. One second. Here we go. So from this, did everyone get through the strengths of the mentorship? Okay, someone shout out what you guys put down. Anybody at all? Just shout it out.
My group thought that some strengths of mentorship was that you get to like experience or like find out more about something that you're interested in, like a career option or something, without having like with talking to someone who's actually in the field and knows what it's like. So it's much more like helpful versus just like trying to Google the career online or something.
Yeah, good, good. Okay. Anybody want to add to that question before we go on to the next one?
Yeah, I said mentorship has like strengths from both sides because the mentor gets to develop different skills and everything.
Great.
And they also get to learn on that topic just by teaching it to someone else.
Perfect.
And also the person gets like a role model to look up to.
Perfect. Great. Okay, let's talk about the challenges. How many of you got to that question? What are some of the challenges of mentorship? Go ahead. Please shout it out. Anybody? What you did?
We talked about like how it's sometimes hard to make those connections, especially if there's an age difference, experience differences, things like that.
Absolutely. Anybody want to add to that one?
We said like especially right now, it's hard to sometimes like get in contact with them because everyone's lives are so crazy and busy, especially like during Zoom classes and stuff. So it can be hard.
Yes, yes. Okay, great. And so is the mentor-mentee relationship a friendship? We talked about this earlier, yay or nay? It's not a friendship. That's right. It's not. They have peers, their same age that are friends or maybe slightly older or younger from their neighborhood. If you're friends with the person, then it sort of interferes with the mentorship. Anybody know why? More than anything, you're not seen as having that expertise that you need to have as an essential element of guidance and anticipation of helping them. So it really can't be a friendship. It kind of interferes with that. The next question is, what are the boundaries? Did anybody get to that? Yes? Okay, shout out what you said the boundaries are.
We said like just don't interfere with like personal life too much and don't like push it. Like you may ask something and if they're uncomfortable with it, then that's fine.
Yeah, you have to be careful that you don't ask them anything about health or finances or anything that would, interfere with their personal life or breach any confidentiality between them and their families. The other thing is that I will tell you this, and we're going to talk about this in a future slide here. Sometimes they breach the boundaries and they will tell you things that you actually need to get some help on. And we'll talk about how you do that in a few minutes. Anybody get to how might you apply it in your Viterbi Impact program? Yes or not yet? We discussed this a little bit earlier. So around tutoring or guiding teachers or guiding students in particular content like in bots and things like that. Okay, so here's some helpful hints that are really important for you in your mentorship relationship. And one is to share your mentor-mentee expectations from the start with those who you mentor, whether it's a teacher, a K-12 student, an undergrad and a grad, whatever it is. And from time to time, readdress those. And why do you think that might be important?
Dr. Ragusa, I don't want to interrupt the slide, but we are at 101, and I just wanted to mention that for students who need to go to class, or if you do need to leave us, we understand that we said that we'd stop at 1, but I think since we have such great content and we have a good group, that we'll keep moving forward if you're able to stay, but don't feel pressure if you need to go to a class or anything like that.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I was losing track of time, and we did get a few minutes late start, and then we had the tech issue. So apologies for that, because this is really designed to only be 1 hour in its entirety. Okay, so you have to say, here's what I expect from you, and here's what I'll be doing, and be really clear on what you'll be doing. And that way you can be supportive and establish boundaries so they understand the goal of the mentorship. That's really, really, really critical. So that needs to happen right from the start. Be supportive, but establish some clear boundaries from the start. And I always have a back pocket list of additional resources. So if you know you're going to talk about college down the road, give them some e-resources, things like that. What's really important about mentorship is that the goal of the mentorship is to grow independence from the mentee, and the mentor to the mentee, and to use resources. So check in periodically to make certain that happens. And in terms of assessing that growth, the more progress they make in whatever content you're mentoring them on, the better they do. Okay? So a bit more in terms of context. Start with what the purpose of your mentorship role is, and I call it a telling objective. So you would say to know what they're expects. For example, today we're going to be learning about whatever you're tutoring them in math, for example. If you're doing coding, today we're going to be learning about that. And even in a mentorship role, they need to know, what am I going to expect by the time they're done, okay? And that establishes your presence and a position of expertise. And then there's all kinds of roles in advance. And I actually, if I'm going to do mentorship training long-term, I have mentors practice in groups, and one of you is the mentee and one is the mentor. We won't have time to do that. And you would work through how it fits the students in terms of interaction, in which context should they seek your help, and when, in which context should you seek help from your supervisor. And I really want to get to this part with those who are left, because this is really critical, and I'm hoping that you can share this recording with those who had to leave. And that is, if the mentee shares anything that's of a personal nature, like they're in danger, or they've been harmed, or they don't have any food, or they have something that's really beyond your tutoring or your support roles, you need to go to your supervisor. In this case, I'm assuming it's actually Sarah or Darren or Ben or something, depending on the role you're in, because that goes beyond the mentorship role, and you need to have that resource ready for yourself. And then your supervisor will follow up with the teacher or with whomever they need to in the school. So don't feel like, because you're a near peer, you're closer to them in age than some teachers would be, and most teachers would be. For example, in the case of K-12, if you have something in which the child may be in danger, they've revealed something that might compromise them, or they don't have any food, or they're homeless, or whatever the case is, you need to go immediately to your supervisor, who will make a report depending on the circumstances, and your supervisors are well informed about that. So don't be afraid to do that. The last thing we're going to do, and we won't have time to do it, so let's just dialogue about it in class, okay? And that is, and we'll just do this for a few minutes and then I'll end, and you can have this stuff for later. These are scenarios that I was going to do in groups, but let's just talk about them together. The first one is a student group is stuck on how to get a robot to engage in a particular action. How do you respond to help them? What would you do as their helper?
So
how would you engage?
I can talk about what you would do, like in person, because I know in virtual it's very different, right?
Yes, it is.
But so what I might do in this situation is kind of like a hands in pocket approach of like, I know your instinct is to try to take over and fix the problem and troubleshoot the problem yourself. So I might try to kind of hold that instinct back, put my hands in my pockets, so to speak, and ask them, what have you done so far to try to fix it? and really start asking questions to try to get them thinking out loud so I can see what their thought process is.
Good, good. Okay. One of the members of a student group or child group in which you're working and supporting is not participating. They're observing others. First, is that okay? And if so, why? What else could be happening and how do you know? And if it's not okay, what steps can you take to remedy the situation? Any of the students. Just, there's no one right answer. So think about that one. What might it be?
I think that sometimes it's okay to like not participate. Sometimes if like the material is kind of hard and they're just taking some more time to absorb it, then it's okay. But sometimes it's not okay because it means that they're like disengaged from the activity or something like that. So one way that you can get them to re-engage is by like prompting them with questions and asking them like, oh, what should we be doing now? Or like, what do you want to do next? Or that kind of thing.
That's great. That's terrific. But it is true, thank you for mentioning that sometimes students, they have different ways in which they take in information. And some students, we would call them vicarious learners. So they learn by watching others and then they take a risk. And those same students may have been doing that from the time they were little. They weren't quick to try something, but they did eventually try it when they felt like they had some mastery in their head about it. So you're absolutely right. But if they're really disengaged, like some of the other scenarios that we won't go over today, but you know, it's a way to sort of engage them, like you just said, ask them a question, help go closer to them instead of farther than them. And that's another strategy I always use. If you're in a classroom, yes, you can do this on Zoom. It's hard to do that, but you can send them on Zoom a private chat message and say, hey, I see that you're sort of sitting and I want to make sure that you understand it. So please let me know if you need anything, things like that. But if face-to-face, you just walk closer to them and then they sort of engage because they see you in their sort of line and vision. And that's kind of important. But those are different ways that you can help engage people. Okay? So next steps, I just want to know from those of you who are still here, why did you choose the VIP program? What got you excited about doing that?
I guess like growing up and like going through school and stuff, there's been other people helping me out, kind of being like mentors like that. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to take on that position and do the same.
Great, good. Anybody else? Ashley or Sarah even?
Yeah, I decided to join Viterbi Impact Program because I have done a lot of like teaching little kids about robotics and stuff in the past, and I really like doing it, and I really like working with young kids and seeing them getting really excited about STEM. So that's why I decided to participate, because this was the only way I could do that virtually.
Okay, great, good. Is there anything from the two of you that worries you have about participating in VIP? Any concerns that you have or things that kind of worry you as you get moving on VIP, since it's sort of new this semester online?
I think that my biggest worry is that I'm not like helping as much as I could in the classroom, because sometimes in the classroom it's easy to like just help a certain student if they're falling behind, but on Zoom it's kind of hard to help just one student at a time. Mm-hmm. And get them caught up. Mm-hmm. So sometimes that can be hard. Yeah,
it can be hard. You know, things can be challenging. So, you know, be kind to yourself and know that, you know, it's really fun to do, but it's also can be challenging. So let me just end the slideshow. What I want to do before you leave, Sarah, would you prefer that I send you the slide deck, or is it better for me to just put it in the chat feature for people and they can download it?
Why don't you send it to me, because I'm sure that all of our other volunteers that couldn't make it today, that there was a lot of interest in this topic, so I'm sure that they would like to read it as well.
I will send it to you then via email. Perfect. And of course they have the recording so they can look at that, including all of our challenges associated with the tech, which are new. But I'm a little bit worried that there's an issue with the new version of Zoom that just updated today, actually, that there might be some issues with Google Slides now, because there was no issues with Google Slides. I use them every week and there's never been a problem. So I'm worried about that. But I'll check on that offline to make sure that that's not pervasive across the program. But thank you so much for everything. And it's so great to meet with you. And you got my email, and you'll get it in the slide deck as well that you're going to get shared. And best of luck to you all in your VIP program. I'm looking forward to hearing about it in the near future. Bye-bye now.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye-bye.